48 hours from now, the person you are in this moment will no longer exist. Not metaphorically. Actually, at the quantum level, at the neurological level, at the energetic level. The identity you've been carrying, the patterns you've been repeating, the electromagnetic signature broadcasting your current reality, all of it can be completely dissolved and replaced with something entirely new. This isn't about becoming a better version of yourself. That's still you, just slightly upgraded. This is about a complete quantum reset, a total dissolution of the old operating system and installation of a completely new one. You can spend years trying to fix a computer infected with deep viruses, or you can wipe the hard drive completely clean and reinstall everything fresh. Most people spend their entire lives trying to debug the old system. What I'm talking about is erasing it entirely and starting from zero. And here's what makes this both terrifying and liberating. You don't need months of preparation. There's a specific window of time, 48 hours, where if you understand the quantum mechanics of identity and you're willing to go all the way, you can collapse into an entirely different version of yourself. Not the version you're trying to become, the version that already exists in the quantum field, waiting for you to match its frequency. Your logical mind is already listing reasons why transformation takes time, why change is gradual, why you can't just become a different person overnight. But that's the old paradigm talking. Quantum physics doesn't work incrementally. Particles don't gradually shift from one state to another. They leap, instantaneously, from here to there with nothing in between. That's called a quantum jump. And you are a quantum system. There's documented evidence in neuroscience. Studies of people who've gone through spontaneous transformation show their brain scans literally look different afterward. New neural networks, different activation patterns, not slowly built over months, a complete reorganization of neural architecture in a compressed time frame. The brain has capacity for rapid, total rewiring. It just rarely gets triggered because most people never create the conditions for it. Your cells are constantly replacing themselves. The atoms in your body exchange with the environment continuously. You are not a static, solid thing. You're a dynamic process of energy and information in constant flux. The only reason you seem like the same person is because you keep collapsing the same patterns. You keep thinking the same thoughts that generate the same emotions that drive the same behaviors that create the same experiences. The pattern repeats so consistently it feels like fixed identity. But it's not fixed. It's just habitual. And habits, no matter how deeply ingrained, can be interrupted. Not gradually weakened over time, but completely severed in a moment of total commitment. This is what the 48-hour protocol does. It creates a break so complete, so absolute, that the old pattern can't re-establish itself. So why are you still the same person you were 5 years ago? 10 years ago? At the core, at the energetic signature level, at the identity frequency level, you're essentially unchanged. You think slightly different thoughts about the same subjects. You feel variations of the same emotions. You react to life in the same patterns. You're on a loop, and most people stay on that loop until they leave this planet. But it's not because transformation is impossible. You're trapped in what neuroscience calls your signature state. This is the unique combination of neural firing patterns, hormonal releases, emotional frequencies, and electromagnetic outputs that define you as you. Every morning when you wake up and start thinking your familiar thoughts, you're unlocking the same signature state. And that signature state has a corresponding reality attached to it. By the time you're in your mid-30s, neuroscientists estimate that 95% of who you are is a set of memorized behaviors, automatic emotional reactions, hardwired attitudes, unconscious beliefs, and perceptual habits running on autopilot. Only 5% of your mind is actually conscious and present. The rest is yesterday's programming trying to create tomorrow, and your body is completely complicit in this. When you start your day thinking about your problems, which are really just memories of the past projected into the future, your body responds by releasing the same cocktail of stress hormones: cortisol, adrenaline, inflammatory chemicals. Your body thinks the past is happening right now. But here's the insidious part. Those chemicals are addictive. Your body can become physiologically dependent on anxiety, on stress, on unworthiness, on victimhood, on whatever emotional state you've been rehearsing most consistently. When you try to stop feeling that familiar feeling, your body goes into withdrawal. It sends urgent signals to your brain demanding that you return to the known emotional state. And most people interpret those signals as evidence that change isn't right for them. Dr. Joe Dispenza calls this the biological addiction to the self. You're not just psychologically attached to being you, you're chemically dependent on being you. Your cells have receptor sites literally waiting for the specific neuropeptides and hormones that make you feel like yourself. The body has become the mind, and the mind keeps thinking the same thoughts to give the body its expected chemical hit. This creates a closed loop that's almost impossible to break through gradual change. You wake up. You think the same thoughts, which trigger the same emotions, which signal the same genes, which create the same proteins, which reinforce the same neural pathways which generate the same thoughts tomorrow. The loop tightens every single day, and that structure has an electromagnetic signature that broadcasts into the quantum field. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field measurable several feet beyond your body. Your brain generates one too. These fields carry information, organized patterns that communicate your state of being to the unified field. And the field responds by collapsing quantum possibilities that match your broadcast. When your electromagnetic signature has been broadcasting the same pattern for years, you've become quantum entangled with a specific probability stream. You're locked into a particular channel of reality. The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you are. What you actually need is a complete system reset. Not an upgrade, a complete wipe and reinstall. You need to create a break in the pattern so total that the old system can't reboot. And that's what the 48-hour quantum leap protocol does. So what actually happens in these 48 hours? This isn't a weekend workshop where you journal and meditate and go back to normal life on Monday. This is a complete quantum reset that requires you to step entirely out of your current reality. And it happens in 3 distinct phases that you cannot skip, cannot rush, and cannot do halfway. The first 24 hours is the great release. This is where you consciously, intentionally, completely let go of the person you've been. Not just the parts you don't like, all of it. The good parts too. The identity you're proud of. The personality traits people love about you. Everything that you use to answer the question, "Who am I?" has to go into the fire. Because all of that, even the good stuff, is part of the signature state keeping you locked into your current reality. This isn't symbolic. You're actually doing it at the energetic level. You're severing the quantum entanglement between your consciousness and the old identity, through radical honesty and complete feeling. You sit with yourself, no distractions, no escapes, and you identify everything that defines the old you. What thoughts do you think repetitively? What emotions do you feel most often? What beliefs do you hold about yourself, about life, about what's possible for you? Feel it. Feel the weight of carrying that identity. Feel how exhausting it is to be that person. Feel the limitations, the fears, the repetitive patterns, and then, with full awareness and full permission, you let it go. You say thank you to that version of yourself for keeping you alive until this moment, and then you let them dissolve. This is where it gets uncomfortable. As you release the old identity, you start to feel untethered. Your nervous system doesn't know who you are anymore. The familiar emotional baseline starts to fade, and your body panics because it's not getting its expected chemical fix. You'll feel urges to check your phone, to reach out to someone who knows the old you, to do anything that will make you feel like yourself again. And if you give in to those urges, if you reconnect with the old identity even for a moment, the entire process resets. So the first 24 hours requires isolation, energetic isolation. You cannot be around people who expect you to be the old you. You cannot engage in activities that trigger your old patterns. You're creating a quarantine zone where the old self can completely dissolve without being accidentally reactivated. Somewhere around hour 20 to 24, you'll hit the quantum void. This is the space between identities. You're no longer the person you were, but you haven't yet become the person you're transforming into. You're just pure consciousness without form, without definition, without familiar coordinates. And this might be the most uncomfortable experience of your life. Your ego will throw everything at you to make you retreat back to the known. Fear, anxiety, doubt, loneliness, existential dread. But if you can stay present with that discomfort, if you can sit in that void without running, something shifts. The panic subsides. The fear loses its grip. And you start to experience something underneath all the noise. Pure awareness, consciousness itself. This is the still point. And this is where the real transformation begins. The final 24 hours is the emergence. This is where the new self begins to take form. Not through effort or force, but through embodiment. You start to think the thoughts this new version of you would think. Not affirmations. Actual thoughts. You start to feel the emotions this new version experiences as their baseline. Not manufactured feelings. Authentic emotions that arise when you truly embody this new frequency. And here's the critical part. You don't wait for external reality to change before you become this person. You become this person now, completely. Regardless of what your current circumstances look like. Because the external reality is still reflecting the old signature state. It's going to take time for the quantum field to reorganize physical reality around your new frequency. But if you wait for the evidence before you fully commit to being the new you, you'll collapse back into the old pattern, and the evidence will never come. So you live these final 24 hours as if you've already completed the transformation. Not pretending. Actually being. You move differently. You speak differently. You make choices differently. And most importantly, you feel differently. Your emotional state is no longer dependent on your circumstances. You're generating elevated emotions, gratitude, joy, love, freedom, from within yourself because that's who you are now. Your body starts to memorize this new chemistry. Your brain starts to wire these new patterns. Your electromagnetic field starts to broadcast this new signature. By hour 48, something fundamental has shifted. The old neural networks have weakened. The old emotional addictions have begun to release. The old electromagnetic signature has destabilized. And a new configuration has begun to organize. It's fragile, it's new, but it's real. You can feel it in your body. You can sense it in your energy. The quantum leap has occurred. Now let me tell you why 90% of people who try this will fail. Not because the process doesn't work, but because they'll sabotage themselves at one of three critical points. The first failure point happens around hour 12 to 18. You're releasing the old identity, and the discomfort is becoming intense. Your body is screaming for the familiar emotions. Your mind is generating every possible reason why this is a bad idea. You'll suddenly remember urgent things you need to do. And all of it, every single bit of it, is the old self fighting for survival. Because your ego is experiencing what it perceives as annihilation. The ego's primary directive is survival, so it will generate whatever thoughts and feelings necessary to get you to abort the process and return to the known. And if you believe those thoughts, if you break the quarantine and re-engage with your normal life, the old identity instantly reactivates and the reset fails. The way through this is to recognize it for what it is. The extinction burst. When you stop reinforcing a behavior, there's always a period where that behavior intensifies right before it disappears. The old identity is having its extinction burst. If you can observe this happening without engaging with it, without believing the stories or following the urges, the intensity will peak and then collapse. The second failure point occurs during the emergence phase, usually around hour 36 to 40. This is when the new identity is beginning to form, and your logical mind starts questioning everything. Is this real, or am I just making it up? Can I actually be this person? Or am I deluding myself? Here's the truth. At the quantum level, you are making it up. You're collapsing a new probability into reality through the act of observation and embodiment. That's literally how manifestation works. The question isn't whether you're making it up. The question is, are you making up something that aligns with your highest potential? Or are you making up the same limited story you've been telling for years? The doubt wants you to wait for proof before you fully commit to the new identity. But if you wait for the proof, you'll never generate the coherent signal necessary for the quantum field to reorganize around you. You have to be the new person first, completely and without reservation, and trust that the evidence will follow. The third failure point happens after the 48 hours, usually within the first 72 hours of returning to normal life. You've completed the protocol. You feel different. You are different. And then you walk back into your old environment and everyone expects you to be the old you. And all of these familiar external triggers start activating old neural pathways before you even realize what's happening. The new identity is like a seedling that's just broken through the soil. If you step on it even once, you might kill it. It needs protection. It needs consistent nurturing. It needs you to fiercely guard it against anything that would pull you back into the old configuration. The solution is radical boundary setting. For at least 7 days after the 48 hours, you have to be absolutely ruthless about protecting your new state. That might mean disappointing people, saying no to invitations, changing your routine, creating physical and energetic space for the new identity to stabilize. If you're committing to do this, if you can feel the pull of transformation right now, write "ready to transform" in the comments below. This is a declaration to yourself and to the field that you're choosing the quantum leap. Your declaration becomes part of the collective shift happening right now. Because transformation is contagious at the quantum level. When one person makes a genuine leap, it creates a ripple in the field that makes it easier for others. Let me tell you the truth that nobody wants to hear. Real transformation requires you to completely let go of the old identity, not improve it, not upgrade it, completely release it. And most people are absolutely unwilling to do this because they're terrified of what happens in the space between letting go and becoming someone new. They want transformation to be comfortable. They want to keep all the familiar parts of themselves that feel safe and just delete the parts they don't like. And it doesn't work that way. You can't selectively dissolve parts of an identity. Identity is a complete system. It's all interconnected. Everything is connected. And if you try to change one part while keeping the rest intact, the system just snaps back to its original configuration. The only way to actually rearrange everything is to evacuate the house completely. That's what the 48-hour protocol does. It evacuates the old identity completely so there's nothing left to resist the reorganization. You create total emptiness, and from emptiness you can build anything. But that emptiness is what people can't tolerate. We're so addicted to being someone, to having a defined self, that the prospect of being no one, even temporarily, feels like annihilation. But here's what you're not seeing. That identity you've built, that self you're defending, it's not your true nature. It's a construction, a mask, a role you've been playing for so long that you've forgotten it's a role. Underneath all of that is pure consciousness, awareness itself, the part of you that exists before thought, before emotion, before personality. And that essential self has no limitations. It's not bound by your history. It's pure creative potential. When you dissolve the constructed identity, you're not losing yourself. You're finding yourself, the real you, the quantum you that exists as infinite possibility before it collapses into any particular form. This is the difference between living and merely existing. Most people exist as an automatic replay of the past. Very few people actually live as conscious creators choosing their reality in real time. Most people choose to stay in the comfortable prison of the known, rather than risk the temporary discomfort of the unknown. But the people who actually transform, who actually quantum leap into a different reality, are the ones who decide that 48 hours of total commitment is worth 48 years of living at a higher level. And here's the final truth. You will only do this when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the fear of change. Most people never reach that point. They settle into a tolerable level of dissatisfaction and just accept that this is life. But some people reach a breaking point, a moment where they can't do this anymore, can't be this person anymore, can't live this reality anymore. And in that moment, they're finally willing to let everything go. You don't have to wait for rock bottom to choose transformation. You can choose it now from a place of inspiration rather than desperation. But either way, the requirement is the same.